For nearly 2 decades, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban looked absolutely untouchable, straight-up Hollywood royalty, the kind of golden couple that felt immune to the mess and madness of fame. Like, nothing could touch them. But that illusion cracked the night Keith switched up a single lyric during a live performance, just a quiet little change, but it sent fans into full spiral mode. Something felt off. What should have sounded like a romantic shout-out suddenly felt more like a goodbye hidden inside a melody. And yeah, people noticed. Now the rumors are spinning again, but this time they are pointing in a seriously wild direction. Reports are suggesting that Russell Crowe, one of their oldest and closest friends, may have quietly hinted that there was way more going on behind the scenes of this split. Did Nicole spot the cracks long before anyone else did? And what warning did she give Keith before everything finally fell apart? Because if Russell really did speak up, it could completely flip the story we thought we knew about this marriage. So don't blink. This revelation might just change everything you believed about Hollywood's so-called perfect love. Subscribe for more celebrity deep dives. Russell Crowe's connection. Long before the headlines turned their names into whispers of heartbreak and betrayal, there was a friendship quietly tying this whole story together. A bond built not on drama, but on trust and shared roots. Russell Crowe and Nicole Kidman aren't just two famous Aussies who made it big in Hollywood. They come from the same soil, the same world that shaped their values, their ambition, and their ride-or-die loyalty to the people they love. Their connection goes way back, decades deep, long before Keith Urban ever entered the picture. In Australia's entertainment circle, Russell and Nicole were known as part of a tight-knit crew of artists who had each other's backs when Hollywood's spotlight got way too harsh. They were peers, confidants, and sometimes emotional anchors. They'd grab dinners during awards season, show up at premieres together, and according to people close to them, they leaned on each other when life behind the cameras got messy. Russell wasn't just a co-star or some casual industry friend, he was family in a world where real loyalty is rare. And that's exactly why his alleged comments about Nicole and Keith hit so hard. This isn't some random tabloid rumor chasing clicks. This is reportedly coming from someone who lived inside their circle. Someone who was there from day one, watching one of Hollywood's most beloved love stories slowly take shape. It was January 2005, Golden Globe weekend, when Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban first crossed paths at a gala in Los Angeles. The vibe that night was electric. Hollywood's biggest names everywhere, cameras flashing non-stop, champagne flowing, and right in the middle of all that glitz, two Aussies locked eyes. And by some accounts, Russell Crowe was there too, not chasing headlines, just a friend quietly watching something big begin. People who were there say Russell clocked the spark immediately. Nicole was radiant and composed, still healing from the shadow of her past with Tom Cruise. Keith was charming, grounded, and riding high in his music career. The chemistry was instant, the kind that makes people pause and whisper, like, yeah, that's something. And Russell, always the observer, was watching it all unfold. Over the years, their friendship only got deeper. While Nicole built a quieter life away from the paparazzi chaos, Russell stayed one of the few people she could talk to without filters. They had that rare understanding only longtime friends have, equal parts respect, empathy, and brutal honesty. When you've known someone since their 20s, you don't fall for the press version of them. You know who they really are. That's why, when reports surfaced that Russell had allegedly spoken about Nicole's warning to Keith before the divorce, people paid attention. He wasn't just another industry insider running his mouth. He was a trusted witness, someone whose words actually carried emotional weight. And let's be real, Russell wasn't new to love falling apart. He'd lived through the highs and lows of fame himself, seen how it warps relationships, how distance and ego slowly kill intimacy. He knew what it meant to protect a friend's truth, even when staying silent would have been easier. According to entertainment sources, Russell was one of the few people Nicole leaned on during the rougher seasons of her marriage. His home in Australia became a kind of safe zone, a place where she could escape the non-stop spotlight, where conversations weren't recorded or twisted into clickbait. That bond, sources say, created a level of trust very few people ever reached. So when whispers started claiming that Russell had privately hinted at what really caused Nicole and Keith's split, that she had warned him before it all came crashing down, it didn't sound far-fetched. It sounded personal. To really get how heavy that is, you've got to see it from Russell's point of view. He wasn't gossiping. If these reports are legit, he was protecting a friend whose reputation was being reshaped by headlines. Up until now, Keith was painted as the heartbroken husband, totally blindsided by the end of his marriage. But if Nicole had confronted him beforehand, if there really was a warning, then the whole narrative flips. That's why Russell's alleged revelations struck such a nerve. This wasn't about cheating rumors or surface-level drama. It was about rewriting the emotional truth behind one of Hollywood's most picture-perfect relationships. Russell, known for his blunt honesty and deep loyalty, isn't someone who talks just to hear himself speak. Every word he says has intention. That's part of his legend, the no BS actor who tells it like it is, whether people like it or not. So when reports started surfacing that he'd made remarks about Nicole's private warning to Keith, it wasn't brushed off as idle chatter. It was taken seriously, like a message from someone who'd earned the right to speak. And here's what adds even more intrigue. Russell and Nicole don't just share friendship, they share parallel lives. Both have ridden fame's wild rollercoaster, both have dealt with very public heartbreak, and both rebuilt their reputations through pure resilience. That shared history puts Russell in a rare position to truly understand what Nicole was going through. People who know them say their friendship was built on mutual respect and fierce privacy. Sure, they showed up at events together, but they also shared quiet moments far from red carpets, dinners in Sydney, late-night phone calls during filming breaks, supportive messages when life got complicated. So if Russell did decide to speak, it likely wasn't impulsive. It came from a place of deep conviction, maybe even frustration, that the world was only hearing one side. In the celebrity world, friends usually stay silent. That's the unspoken rule, protect each other's image at all costs. That's the code. But according to reports, Russell's loyalty this time might not be to the code, it might be to the truth. And that's what makes his involvement so explosive. Because when someone like Russell Crowe, someone who's seen it all, known both sides, and been there from the first spark to the final fade, allegedly speaks up, people listen. Maybe he felt Nicole's story was being misunderstood. Maybe he couldn't stand seeing her painted as the one who walked away for no reason. Or maybe he just believed some truths deserve daylight, no matter the fallout. Whatever his reasons, Russell's alleged revelation changes the entire tone of this saga. It gives context to whispers that never quite added up. It paints a picture not of a sudden breakup, but of a slow unraveling, one that someone close could no longer ignore. Russell Crowe's friendship with Nicole Kidman isn't just a footnote in their careers. It's the emotional backbone of this whole story. His perspective adds credibility, depth, and humanity to what could have been dismissed as just another celebrity split. And as these reports keep spreading, one thing is clear: when someone this respected and this close allegedly breaks the silence, it's not random. It's intentional. It's calculated. And what he's reportedly revealing now changes everything. The warning that shook their marriage. Every marriage has its quiet tension, the looks that say too much, the pauses that feel heavy, the questions left hanging in the air. But for Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, those moments were magnified by fame, endless touring, and the pressure of maintaining an image millions adored. Behind the smiles, something fragile was shifting. And according to reports now making the rounds, that shift hit a breaking point when Nicole allegedly confronted Keith, not in anger, but in pure heartbreak. She gave him a warning. That word, warning, has become the heartbeat of this entire story. It's been whispered in interviews, hinted at in gossip columns, and allegedly referenced by Russell Crowe himself, the friend who may have seen everything unfold up close. But what does warning really mean here? Was it a plea to save the marriage, or a final line drawn when love ran out of second chances? People who've followed the story say it all comes down to tone. Some reports suggest Nicole uncovered something, not necessarily proof of an affair, but something unsettling enough to rattle her trust. Maybe a late-night message. Maybe a story that didn't quite add up. Maybe behavior that just didn't sit right. Whatever it was, it flipped a switch in her mind, a point of no return. Sources familiar with their inner circle say Nicole didn't explode or make a scene. That's just not her. She confronted him calmly, but clearly. She told Keith that if certain patterns continued, their marriage wouldn't survive. One insider reportedly called it a soft-spoken ultimatum. Others close to the situation see the warning differently. They believe it wasn't about cheating at all, but about lifestyle, boundaries, and straight-up exhaustion. Nicole, a mother and global icon, had spent years trying to hold things together while Keith toured more than 200 days a year. It wasn't just the distance. It was the feeling that her husband belonged more to the world than to their home. Sources say Nicole may have told him something like, "If you keep living like this, we won't make it." Not an angry threat, but heartbreak dressed up as honesty. But here's where it gets truly compelling. Reports have been floating around that Russell Crowe might have already known about this whole conversation, maybe through private heart-to-hearts with Nicole, or just by picking up on those low-key signals only real close friends catch. Supposedly, he was aware that something went down behind closed doors, something heavy enough to shake even Nicole's usually ice-calm vibe. And honestly, when you really sit with that, it flips everything. Because if Russell is talking about a warning, then this wasn't some random blow-up out of nowhere. It was a slow, obvious unraveling, the kind the people closest to them saw coming from a mile away. Fans have gone back and re-watched old interviews and public appearances, clocking tiny changes. The way Keith would look at Nicole at events, loving, sure, but sometimes almost sorry. The way Nicole's smile, flawless as always, didn't quite hit her eyes every time. The love was real, no doubt, but so was the tension, that quiet hurt of two people trying to hold onto something that was already slipping through their hands. And when you mix all that with what Russell allegedly hinted at, the timeline starts lining up in a real eerie way. If Nicole warned Keith, that means she gave him an out, a chance to switch it up, prove her wrong, fight for what they'd built. But just weeks after that supposed face-off, everything fell apart. Custody papers signed. Terms locked in without drama. No messy court battle, no public back and forth. Just silence. Clean. Final. That's not how impulsive breakups go down. That's how endings happen when one person already made peace with the result. Entertainment analysts say that's exactly why the word warning hits so hard. It screams foresight. It says Nicole didn't just dip on a whim. She saw the storm coming, tried to stop it, and when nothing changed, she walked. And if Russell Crowe really did know about that warning, him speaking up now, even in a low-key way, adds serious emotional weight. It makes it feel less like gossip and more like setting the record straight. Because right now, the public story paints Keith as the heartbroken guy who lost everything overnight. But the idea of a warning changes that whole picture. It frames Nicole not as someone who bailed for no reason, but as someone who fought for her marriage until she literally couldn't anymore. Russell's alleged mention of that warning also tracks with who he is. He's always had a rep for being loyal to the core, ride or die for his people, and brutally honest when he feels the truth is getting twisted. Friends say he hates hypocrisy. So if he thought Nicole was getting painted unfairly, it makes total sense that he'd quietly step in, even if that meant breaking that unwritten Hollywood code of silence. And there's another layer here, one that adds both tension and heartbreak. The entertainment industry is ruthless about image. Once a narrative sticks, flipping it is almost impossible. If Nicole stayed quiet while public sympathy piled onto Keith, she risked becoming the villain in her own story. But if someone else, say, a respected heavyweight like Russell, dropped a little truth, it could shift the balance without Nicole having to say a word. That's what makes the alleged warning reveal so calculated. It explains why Russell's supposed comments popped up after the divorce filing, not before. It wasn't about stirring drama mid-chaos. It was about correcting the story once the dust settled. In that sense, the warning isn't just some private convo between two people, it's symbolic. It's the moment when a woman who had endured, compromised, and forgiven finally drew a hard line in the sand. To the outside world, it looked like just another Hollywood split. But to the people close to them, it was the echo of a sentence spoken long before: if you keep doing this, I can't stay. And once that line got crossed, there was no rewind. Russell Crowe's alleged mention of that moment doesn't just spill a secret, it gives shape to the silence that followed. It reminds us that love doesn't usually die in one night, it fades slowly, one warning at a time. And as we dig deeper into this story, one question becomes impossible to dodge. What actually pushed Nicole to that breaking point? And what did Keith do next that made her decide it was really over? Because according to those who watched it all go down, the warning was just the start. Behind the scenes, the signs no one saw. From the outside, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban's life looked picture perfect. Red carpets, glowing interviews, smiles bright enough to cut through camera flashes, the perfect mix of glam and stability. But behind the scenes, people who saw them up close started noticing something else. It wasn't chaos. It wasn't scandal. It was distance. The kind that doesn't hit all at once, the kind that sneaks in quietly, one missed call, one defensive glance at a phone at a time. Reports say that even before the final split, Nicole's inner circle felt a shift. She'd always been super private, but those close to her knew when something was weighing on her. Sources claim she opened up about Keith's schedule, non-stop touring, late-night studio grind, life constantly on the road, slowly eating away at their connection. It wasn't jealousy. It was straight-up exhaustion. The kind you feel when you love someone who's never in the same city long enough to notice how alone you're feeling. But according to accounts tied to Russell Crowe's perspective, what really worried Nicole wasn't just the distance, it was secrecy. Little things. Phone calls cutting off too fast. Texts answered with guarded looks. Late-night notifications flipped face down on the table. On their own, none of it screamed scandal. But stacked together, it painted a picture no amount of public affection could erase. Russell, reportedly, had seen this pattern before, not just in other couples, but in the quiet breakdown of people living under non-stop pressure. When you're gone 200 days a year, surrounded by praise and temptation, even tiny slip-ups can snowball into suspicion. Entertainment insiders say Russell allegedly noticed Nicole's energy change during conversations. The easy laughter she was known for started sounding forced. Her focus, once razor-sharp, would drift mid-sentence whenever Keith's name came up. Supposedly, Russell didn't push or pry, he just listened. But he's the type who clocks details. And those details started telling a story all on their own. Around that same time, Keith's public displays of love went into overdrive. Song dedications. Calling Nicole his saving grace in interviews. Constant praise for her support. Fans ate it up, romantic, poetic, raw. But people close to the couple found the timing a little sus. The more withdrawn Nicole seemed in private, the louder Keith's love declarations got in public. Some insiders called it straight overcompensation. The classic move of someone trying to cover guilt with big gestures. Whether that guilt came from neglect, temptation, or emotional distance, nobody knows for sure. But it was enough to make seasoned observers raise an eyebrow. There's also a story, unconfirmed, but whispered among insiders, that during one of Keith's tours, a crew member casually mentioned something to Nicole that didn't line up with what Keith had told her. It wasn't proof of anything wild, but it didn't match. And when a marriage is already under strain, inconsistencies can hit hard. Reports say Nicole took her concerns to Russell, not to gossip, but as a friend needing clarity. She trusted his grounded outlook, his ability to see past facades without judging. Allegedly, she told him she was seeing signs she couldn't brush off anymore. Keith getting defensive out of nowhere, dodging simple questions, being physically there but emotionally checked out. Russell, according to speculation, was conflicted. Part of him wanted to believe Keith wouldn't ever break Nicole's trust. But another part knew fame comes with patterns and a price. The same charm that wins over millions can also cause damage behind closed doors. People who saw the couple backstage say there were moments when the cracks showed even in public. Nicole, always the pro, smiled through the tension. But sharp-eyed fans have since gone back and re-watched certain moments, a concert, an awards show, and noticed body language that now feels loud. Forced laughs. Eyes looking away. A hand pulled back too fast. One source even recalled seeing Nicole crying after one of Keith's shows, a rare slip from someone known for staying composed. What caused it, no one knows for sure. But the timing, they say, lined up with when her doubts were growing and her patience was running out. To the outside world, everything still looked solid. To insiders, it felt like a house standing tall on a cracked foundation. Russell, allegedly knowing more than most, began to understand how serious it all was. It said he didn't interfere, but he carried what he knew like a weight. Because when someone you've known for 20 years starts falling apart, when you see trust drain from their eyes, staying silent starts to feel like its own kind of betrayal. And maybe that's why, much later, he chose to say anything at all. Those who really know Russell say he's ride or die loyal, but he's also got a strong moral compass. He's not the type to air out private business unless he feels the truth is getting twisted. And if he genuinely saw Nicole's heartbreak up close, that explains why his alleged revelations didn't come out during the chaos, but after the world had already passed judgment on her. Looking back, the signs no one saw weren't actually invisible, people just chose to look the other way. The long tours, the missed anniversaries, the guarded texts, the emotional distance, all of it pointed to something slowly falling apart behind the spotlight. And once a woman like Nicole, strong, composed, endlessly patient, starts losing trust, there's usually no coming back. People close to her say she doesn't move on impulse. When she decides it's done, it's because she's already given every last chance. So if Russell truly witnessed those quiet cracks, his alleged decision to later confirm that Nicole had warned Keith suddenly makes heartbreaking sense. It wasn't payback. It was closure, a friend making sure her side of the story didn't get lost in translation. Because in Hollywood, stories don't die, they get rewritten. And without someone like Russell speaking up, Nicole's heartbreak risked being remembered as abandonment instead of survival. Every smile hides something left unsaid. Every perfect picture has a corner cropped out. And in the case of Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, those hidden corners tell a story that's now, slowly, coming into the light. But if these quiet signs were already so obvious to those around them, the real question becomes, why didn't Keith change? What kept him walking the same road, even after the warning? The next part of this story might hold the answer, because the timeline between love, warning, and collapse shows just how fast everything unraveled. Quick pause, if this story's got you hooked like it's got us, smash that like button real quick. It helps the channel reach more real Hollywood fans like you. Keith Urban's lifestyle and temptation. Fame looks flashy from the outside, the lights, the applause, the screaming fans reaching out from every inch of the stage. But when the show's over and the crowd fades, fame can turn into something else entirely, isolating, tempting, and straight up lonely. And that's the world Keith Urban lived in for most of his marriage to Nicole Kidman. Reports suggest that at the peak of his career, Keith was on the road nearly 200 days a year. City after city. Hotel after hotel. Every night packed with music, attention, and adrenaline. To fans, it looked like living the dream, but behind the scenes, those endless miles started wearing him down. When you're gone that long, home starts to feel like a memory, and temptation begins to feel like comfort. Nicole knew the rhythm. She understood the demands of his career. But understanding doesn't make distance hurt any less. Sources close to the couple say Nicole tried everything to close the gap. Surprise visits, squeezing in calls between film shoots, planning family moments between tour stops. But over time, even those efforts couldn't compete with the lifestyle Keith was living. Late nights turned into missed calls. Missed calls turned into explanations. Explanations turned into excuses. And through it all, Russell Crowe, the friend who'd been there since day one, reportedly saw what it was doing to Nicole. He knew the cost of fame all too well. After decades in the industry, Russell allegedly recognized the warning signs: emotional burnout, isolation, and the vulnerability that comes with non-stop attention. It wasn't just about fans or the road, it was about the basic human need to feel grounded once the lights go out. Sources say Russell may have quietly voiced concern to people close to him about how much strain Keith's touring life put on not just Keith, but the marriage. Addiction, exhaustion, and adoration create a dangerous triangle in show business. Keith had already fought his demons publicly, even entering rehab just months after their wedding. That comeback story once defined his image, the man who beat darkness for love. But behind the scenes, it also revealed a fragility that fame kept testing. Anyone who's lived that life, constant motion, constant validation, knows how easy it is to slip. Not always into scandal, but into detachment. Into performing connection instead of actually feeling it. People analyzing Russell's alleged comments believe he may have noticed that shift in Keith. What once felt like grounded gratitude began to look like a performance. Keith's public praise of Nicole got louder, almost over the top, emotional speeches, love-drenched posts, stage dedications that made crowds melt. Yet those same observers say that in private, the distance between them kept growing. The contrast was brutal. The louder Keith celebrated Nicole in public, the more withdrawn she seemed behind closed doors. Fans picked up on it too, the photos where she smiled but no longer reached for his hand. The interviews where her eyes drifted away when his name came up. The moments where joy seemed replaced by pure composure. Rumors added more spice to the story. According to Page 6, fans noticed Keith may have tweaked song lyrics mid-concert to reference a touring guitarist, Maggie Bohr, which fueled speculation about distraction and tension. Daily Mail, via Page 6, echoed those claims with quotes from anonymous insiders. None of it proves anything, but it shows how fans and tabloids started dissecting every move. In one now famous award show moment, Keith tearfully said Nicole had saved him. It was raw and emotional. But insiders later suggested that around that same time, Nicole's patience was running on fumes. The man the world saw as endlessly devoted might have been trying to convince himself. Reports say Russell Crowe saw right through that contrast. He'd watched too many friends cover private pain with public affection. It's a classic pattern: when guilt grows, so does the performance. When things crack behind the scenes, you try to make them shine harder in public. For Nicole, that shine started feeling fake. Sources say she prized authenticity, honesty, transparency, emotional consistency. So when affection felt rehearsed, she clocked it. When words replaced actions, she clocked it. When Keith's presence felt routine instead of real, she clocked it. There's a saying among touring artists: the road takes what love leaves behind. Every city, every show, every night out of a suitcase chips away at who you used to be. And somewhere in that blur, According to reports, Keith and Nicole lost the rhythm that once made them solid. Russell's alleged awareness of these patterns makes his eventual comments hit harder. He knew the red flags. He knew temptation doesn't always mean betrayal, sometimes it just means disconnection. And that can hurt even more. People close to Keith describe him as kind but restless, a man fueled by movement and applause. Slowing down isn't easy for someone like that, even for love. And yet, that non-stop motion is what drove the wedge love couldn't close. Insiders claim that when Nicole finally gave her warning, the one Russell allegedly mentioned, it wasn't an accusation. It was exhaustion wrapped in honesty. A simple truth: I can't keep competing with the road. That's what makes this whole story feel painfully human. No villains. No heroes. Just two successful, adored people slowly undone by the very dreams that built them. Keith's lifestyle wasn't a crime, it was a consequence. The ambition that made him famous also pulled him away. And for a long time, Nicole tried to hold it together, believing love would be enough to anchor them. But when love itself started feeling like another performance, she drew the line. That's why Russell's alleged insight matters. He wasn't spilling gossip. He was showing heartbreak, the quiet kind that doesn't need headlines to be real. The kind that happens when someone stops feeling like home. In many ways, Keith Urban's touring life mirrored the marriage, always moving, never still. Always surrounded by noise, yet filled with silence. And when Nicole finally chose that silence for herself, choosing peace over chaos, the love story that once seemed unbreakable faded out quietly. But Russell's involvement suggests this isn't just about distance. It's about loyalty, and how far a friend will go to protect someone they care about when the truth starts getting blurry. In Hollywood, staying quiet is usually the safest move. So the fact that Russell allegedly chose not to stay quiet at all, that's where this story takes its boldest turn yet. Why Russell spoke now? In Hollywood, silence is a kind of currency. It protects reputations, preserves friendships, and keeps secrets buried far from the cameras. For nearly 20 years, Russell Crowe kept that silence. He watched, listened, and stayed loyal to both Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban. But now, reports say, he may have decided it was time to break it. The timing wasn't random. When news of Nicole and Keith's separation dropped, it felt almost too clean. No angry statements. No messy interviews. No leaks. The ending was elegant, controlled, polished. And that's exactly what raised eyebrows for people who know how Hollywood really works. Because endings that neat don't just happen. They are built. According to insiders who know what was really going on, Russell could see the storyline taking shape in real time. Public sympathy was swinging hard toward Keith, the shattered husband, totally blindsided by a woman who, from the outside looking in, appeared to have it all. At the same time, Nicole's quiet grace was being misread as straight-up coldness. She wasn't doing interviews, wasn't clapping back, wasn't defending herself, and in an industry obsessed with optics, staying silent can quickly start looking like guilt. Sources say that's likely what finally pushed Russell to move. Reports claim he started dropping subtle comments, never pointing fingers, never confirming anything outright, but definitely hinting. Remarks that suggested Nicole's choice wasn't some spur-of-the-moment decision. That she'd been dealing with way more than the public ever knew. That she had issued warnings before she finally walked away. The kind of carefully chosen words that tell a whole story without crossing any hard lines. If anyone else had said it, people might have brushed it off as gossip. But coming from Russell Crowe, a guy known for loyalty, integrity, and blunt honesty, it hit different. He wasn't some tabloid mouthpiece. He was family. Someone who'd witnessed their love story from day one. People close to Russell say he's fiercely protective of those he claims as his own. He doesn't talk just to hear himself speak. he speaks when something feels unfairly left unsaid. Friends say loyalty matters more to him than comfort, and if he thought Nicole's silence was letting a warped version of the truth spread, he'd see that as an injustice worth fixing. To him, breaking the celebrity code of silence wasn't betrayal. It was defense. Hollywood runs on unwritten rules. One of the big ones: never comment on another star's private life, especially when marriage or scandal is involved. It's the kind of rule that keeps careers intact. But there's another unspoken rule that hits even harder: protect your people, no matter what. And when those two rules crash into each other, loyalty wins every time. Analysts who've studied Russell's alleged comments believe that's exactly what played out here. He watched a friend, Nicole, get quietly painted as the cold one, the distant one, the woman who gave up on a good man. And that picture didn't sit right with him. Because, according to those close to the situation, Russell knew the side the world never saw: the tears, the sleepless nights, the emotional breakdowns no headline could ever capture. In his mind, silence stopped being loyalty. It started feeling like complicity. There's also a strategic angle that makes his timing extra interesting. Reports suggest his comments only surfaced after the legal dust had settled, after custody agreements were locked in, after both sides had stepped into their post-divorce lives. By waiting, he stayed clear of the legal process. His words couldn't mess with negotiations, they could only influence perception. And that difference matters. Because in the court of public opinion, perception is power. Industry insiders say this timing screams classic damage control, not for Russell, but for Nicole. It let her side of the story come out indirectly, through someone credible and respected. If Nicole had spoken, headlines would have exploded all over again. But hearing it from Russell, framed as concern, felt human, protective, not performative. And that's why it worked. Suddenly, people started asking new questions. Did Nicole really walk away too easily? Or did she stay away longer than she should have? Was she guarding her family's privacy, or covering for a husband who didn't keep his promises? The shift was quiet but powerful, and it happened without Nicole saying a single word. Russell's limited, speculative remarks gave her something she couldn't ask for herself: balance. It also helped that Russell's own reputation backed it up. He's not known for spreading rumors. He's known for keeping it real, even when it costs him. Fans remember his brutally honest interviews, his refusal to sugarcoat uncomfortable truths. So when he reportedly hinted that Nicole's decision came after warnings, people didn't write it off as chatter. They heard it as a carefully framed reality. Behind the scenes, sources say Nicole knew what Russell said, and she didn't stop him. She didn't confirm it, but she didn't shut it down either. That silence was her quiet way of acknowledging the narrative needed correcting, and that she trusted him to handle it right. Those who know their bond describe it as almost sibling level. He's the fierce protector, she's the quiet strength. And like any protective brother type, Russell Mavie decided that watching her take heat for a story she didn't create was one step too far. Still, breaking the code comes with consequences. Hollywood doesn't forget breaches of discretion easily. Some insiders believe Russell's move may have strained his relationship with Keith. Chances are he weighed that cost and accepted it. Because to him, truth, even wrapped in caution, mattered more than comfort. The real question now isn't what he said, but why he said it when he did. And maybe the answer is simpler than anyone expected: timing is everything. Speaking earlier would have caused chaos. Speaking later would have made it pointless. But speaking then, when the world had settled on a version of events that didn't match what he knew, gave his words maximum impact with minimal blowback. In a town built on polished images, Russell's low-key honesty felt almost revolutionary. It reminded people that even celebrities have breaking points, not just in love, but in loyalty. And if the reports are legit, his quiet choice to speak was the moment the narrative shifted for good. Because the friend who stood at the start of their love story was now, at its end, standing guard over the truth. In an industry where silence protects power, Russell Crowe's voice did something rare: it protected a person. And as the whispers grew louder, one thing became clear: he didn't speak to spark drama. He spoke because some stories deserve to be told, not loudly, not cruelly, but honestly. Still, one question hangs in the air: if Russell's words were meant to shield Nicole, what did they reveal about the other side of the story? Because when loyalty shifts, someone always feels burned. And in the next chapter, we'll dig into how Russell's timing, motives, and decision to speak started reshaping everything we thought we knew about this divorce, and about friendship itself. The strategic leak theory. When stories like this hit the public, they almost never happen by accident. In Hollywood, information moves like a chessboard, every detail released with intent, every silence saying something on its own. And that's where the real mystery around Russell Crowe's alleged involvement kicks off. Because if he really chose to speak, it wasn't impulsive. It was calculated. Entertainment insiders say celebrity leaks usually serve one clear purpose: shifting the narrative without the main players ever opening their mouths. They are controlled drops, bits of truth mixed with speculation, timed just right to protect reputations and redirect sympathy. And when it comes to Nicole Kidman's divorce from Keith Urban, a lot of people think that's exactly what went down. Reports suggest Russell Crowe, a man with both credibility and emotional closeness to the couple, may have become the perfect messenger, whether by circumstance or quiet approval. Not a tabloid source. Not a PR spin. A trusted friend with enough distance to sound believable, and enough loyalty to stay careful. Insiders say Nicole, known for her quiet dignity, wouldn't have orchestrated something like this herself. But people around her, folks who understand how media really works, may have seen that silence was starting to hurt her image. The public was backing Keith, the devoted husband who seemed blindsided. Meanwhile, Nicole's calm retreat was being misread as icy detachment. And that imbalance couldn't last forever. That's where the strategic leak theory comes in. In situations like this, leaks aren't about calling someone out, they are about reframing the story. They plant seeds. Instead of screaming betrayal, they whisper context: maybe things weren't as perfect as they looked. Maybe one partner fought longer than anyone realized. Maybe walking away wasn't selfish, maybe it was survival. Russell's alleged comments fit that playbook perfectly. He didn't claim to expose secrets. He didn't confirm any scandal. He simply hinted that Nicole had warned Keith, a deeply human detail that instantly flips the narrative. Suddenly, she's not the woman who bailed on her marriage, she's the woman who tried to save it until there was nothing left. It's subtle, but it hits hard, and it hits harder coming from him than from any anonymous source. That's how strategic leaks work when they are done right: credibility, timing, and emotional truth. Not about proving facts, about shifting perception. People who know Russell know he's not a gossip or a manipulator, which is exactly why this theory feels so believable. If he chased headlines, no one would have listened. But because he's known for integrity, his words stuck. They felt real. Industry analysts believe whoever let this unfold understood public psychology perfectly. The story had to change naturally, not forcefully. So instead of a defensive press release or sit-down interview, the narrative shifted through whispers: one respected friend, one quiet suggestion, one sentence that flipped everything upside down: she warned him. From there, the media did what it always does, filled in the blanks. News outlets ran with interpretations, debates, and deep dives. And just like that, the story everyone thought they understood didn't look so simple anymore. None could really verify what Russell supposedly said, but honestly, the idea alone was enough. It spread like wildfire, flipping headlines and taking over conversations across every platform. Suddenly, the divorce didn't look like some cold, emotionless exit anymore. It felt like the heartbreaking finale of a love story that had already been given every possible chance. And that right there is the brilliance, and the danger, of strategic leaks. They create the vibe of an organic discovery while being carefully, almost surgically, planned. They let a truth surface without anyone ever having to fully own it. For Nicole, it offered protection. For Russell, it kept his credibility intact. And for the world, it delivered a sense of closure. But let's be real, leaks like this always come with risk. Every revelation, no matter how carefully phrased, has the power to permanently fracture relationships. Insiders suggest Keith Urban may have felt blindsided yet again, this time not by love, but by loyalty. Because even if Russell never confirmed anything outright, the implication alone was enough to sting. The idea that someone so close to both of them might quietly take sides could only deepen the emotional divide. Still, to others, Russell's move wasn't betrayal, it was balance. In a world where truth often gets buried under optics, he allegedly chose the harder route, letting the light in, even if it burned a few bridges. Strategic leaks aren't always shady. Sometimes, they are acts of quiet justice. They bring humanity back to people who've been reduced to headlines. They remind us that every polished photo hides pain no one sees. And for Nicole Kidman, whose entire career has been built on grace under fire, this quiet correction may have been the only kind of defense she'd ever allow herself. She didn't need to speak. She didn't need to fight. All she needed was one trusted voice to say, "There's more to this story." Russell's reputation gave those words weight. His timing gave them impact. And his closeness to both sides gave them authenticity. It was, in every sense, a masterstroke of controlled honesty. Of course, whether this was intentional, or just an emotional slip, only Russell knows. But in celebrity chess, intention matters way less than effect. And the effect here was undeniable. Just like that, the narrative swung back to Nicole. As one insider reportedly said, Russell didn't leak a secret. He leaked perspective. And yeah, that perspective changed everything. Still, the questions don't stop. Was this the only leak, or just the first? Were there others, quietly coordinated, perfectly timed, to push the same message even harder? Because in Hollywood, no story ends with a single reveal. Every disclosure sends ripples, and those ripples usually lead to something even bigger. And that takes us straight into the next chapter, because if Russell's words were the spark, what followed was pure fire. In the next section, we look at how the divorce terms themselves, from custody to finances, mirror the same emotional truth Russell allegedly exposed, that behind every calm settlement is a storm nobody sees. Quick reminder, before we dive deeper, make sure you're subscribed. We break down the truth behind celebrity headlines every week, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Divorce clues that match infidelity patterns. When the public first saw the divorce papers, they looked almost unnaturally clean. No dragged-out courtroom drama, no money fights, no bitter statements flying back and forth. But to people who know celebrity breakups, that kind of surgical precision doesn't scream peace, it screams leverage. And leverage almost always comes from guilt. Hollywood watchers who've seen the quietest divorces know the signs. When one partner holds the moral high ground, the split moves fast, silent, and final. Every detail, custody, finances, even the wording in the filings, becomes an unspoken confession. And that's exactly why Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban's settlement raised eyebrows. Legal analysts say the first major clue was custody. Nicole was granted primary care for 306 days a year, while Keith got just 59. No argument. No pushback. No resistance at all. For a father who'd always spoken publicly about how much he loved his family, that quick surrender felt off. People close to the couple described Keith as a hands-on dad, deeply devoted to his daughters. So why give up so easily? The first real sign of how fast everything collapsed came straight from the court documents. According to People magazine, which reviewed the official filings, Keith Urban signed the parenting plan on August 29, 2025, and Nicole Kidman signed hers just a week later, on September 6. The documents also list their official separation date as September 30, 2025, a timeline so tight insiders called it surgical. That speed had the industry buzzing. For a couple long seen as Hollywood's most elegant pair, it suggested the decision had been made long before the paperwork ever surfaced. Legal experts noted that kind of efficiency usually means no negotiations, no surprises, just quiet finality. It left fans wondering how a 19-year marriage could officially end in barely a month if everything had truly been fine. Sources close to the situation say the answer may lie in that alleged warning Russell Crowe hinted at. If Nicole confronted Keith with something serious, something that shattered trust, then resistance would have been pointless. The less he fought, the faster everything stayed buried. Fighting would have meant discovery. And discovery could have meant humiliation. The second clue showed up in the form of prepaid child support. Instead of monthly payments, Keith reportedly paid everything in one lump sum. On paper, it looks neat and generous. But in reality, it cuts off future accountability. It's a clean break, an arrangement often chosen by someone who wants distance, no strings, no reminders. Legal experts quietly noted it's the kind of move made by someone trying to close the door for good. The third, and maybe loudest, clue was the total absence of spousal support. Nicole didn't ask for any, and Keith didn't offer it. That might look like mutual respect, but to seasoned observers, it signals something deeper, a moral imbalance. When one person holds the emotional high ground, they don't need money. Their power is in their silence. And the other side, knowing that, doesn't push back. They just agree. Russell Crowe's alleged insight ties all of this together. He reportedly hinted that Nicole had issued a warning, drawn a line, and given Keith a chance before everything fell apart. The speed of the divorce, the cooperative tone, and the uneven custody suddenly make sense. This wasn't negotiation, it was resolution after revelation. Insiders who've seen similar celebrity splits say there's a clear pattern. When someone messes up badly, but the other partner chooses privacy over exposure, the settlement is fast, generous, and discreet. Everyone walks away with dignity, except the truth, which stays buried in the paperwork. Even the timing backs this up. Just 35 days passed between their glowing anniversary post and the day Keith's signature finalized the custody agreement. That's not enough time for therapy, mediation, or second chances. That's the timeline of someone who already knew the marriage was done. Those who know Nicole describe her as precise and intentional. She doesn't move without purpose. That makes her speed even more telling. Within days of the reported breaking point, lawyers were hired, documents prepared, and boundaries drawn. That's not panic, that's a decision made long before the public ever knew. Keith's silence since the split has been just as revealing. No interviews. No explanations. No attempts to set the record straight. For someone known for emotional openness, that kind of restraint is unusual. But in Hollywood, silence can say everything. When someone stays quiet, it's often because speaking would confirm too much. Russell's alleged remarks added the missing emotional layer. If Nicole truly warned Keith before walking away, his quick compliance makes sense. Signing fast may have been his final act of acceptance, not just losing the marriage, but losing trust. Friends of both stars say the settlement reflected Nicole perfectly: elegant, private, efficient. She wasn't chasing revenge, she wanted closure. And Keith's cooperation made that possible without turning it into a circus. In the weeks after the filings, insiders noticed another subtle detail: neither side deleted old photos or public love declarations. That, too, fits a familiar pattern: remorse, not resentment. It preserves the image of peace while quietly burying the pain that caused the ending. It's a silent way of saying, the love was real, even if the ending wasn't. For Russell Crowe, a man who values truth over polish, watching the world misread that silence couldn't have been easy. People close to him say he was frustrated that Nicole's grace was being mistaken for coldness, that her silence was being twisted into guilt. And if reports are accurate, that frustration may have pushed him to quietly share what he knew, that Nicole didn't walk away out of nowhere, but after giving Keith one final chance to change. That version of how things went down lines up perfectly with the divorce papers themselves. The structure, the timing, the tone, yeah, all of it points to an ending that wasn't messy or explosive, but smooth and controlled. Nicole had the upper hand, and she played it cool, no drama. Keith, knowing he'd messed up in his own ways, didn't push back. From the outside looking in, the whole thing still seems calm, even kind of elegant. But underneath that calm, there's a full emotional breakdown of betrayal, guilt, warnings, confrontation, silence, and finally, surrender. Every box ticked in that divorce filing tells the same low-key story. Love didn't turn into rage or revenge, it turned into closure. In a city where scandal is currency, Nicole and Keith's divorce stands out because it doesn't try to sell any. No circus, no chaos, just hints. And the closer you look, the louder those hints get. The custody. The money. The silence. The speed. Each one feels like a quiet whisper of what really went down. And when you put all those whispers together, they start sounding a lot like the truth Russell Crowe allegedly wanted people to hear. The truth that this wasn't just a breakup. It was the last chapter of a promise that had been broken way before anyone noticed. Alternative explanations. Every story has two sides, and sometimes even the truth comes in shades of grey. While the narrative around Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban's split has been taken over by whispers of warnings and betrayal, some people think there's another version of events, one that's less about cheating and more about inevitability. Because not every ending comes from scandal. Some just come from pure burnout. Anyone who's followed Nicole and Keith since the early 2000s knows their love story wasn't built in a bubble. They were both survivors of fame, two Australians who took over the world, each carrying baggage the public never fully saw. Their relationship started as a redemption story, a healing kind of love after chaos. But as years turned into decades, the same things that once connected them, fame, distance, non-stop schedules, slowly became the things pulling them apart. According to some entertainment insiders, the marriage didn't collapse because of betrayal, but because of pressure. The kind that creeps in quietly, stacking up day by day, until even the strongest walls start cracking. Reports say they'd been living more and more separate lives for years. Nicole's acting work had her bouncing across continents, while Keith's music career kept him on tour for months at a time. It wasn't hatred, it was logistics. Two global careers, two insane schedules, one family always stuck between airports and award shows. Eventually, that grind wears down even the most ride-or-die hearts. Over the years, both of them openly talked about how hard the distance was. Nicole once admitted she hated how often they were apart. Keith said touring made him miss birthdays, anniversaries, and even the small, everyday moments that make up real family life. Despite trying their best, it's possible the years created too much emotional space to ever fully close again. And while some tabloids locked onto the word affair, people close to the couple have suggested something more real and painfully human, emotional disconnection. Not lies. Not scandal. Just two people slowly realizing they weren't speaking the same language anymore. Even Russell Crowe's alleged comments, when you really read them carefully, don't straight up accuse Keith of cheating. They talk about a warning, but a warning can mean a lot of things. Lifestyle. Boundaries. Health. Some sources think Nicole's breaking point wasn't betrayal at all, but Keith's non-stop pace, his long absences, his inability to slow down even after 19 years of marriage. Fame has a way of trapping people inside their own image. Keith's world was stages, lights, and fans screaming his name. Nicole's was scripts, cameras, and endless characters to become. Somewhere between the applause and the performances, they may have lost each other as people. It happens quietly, two lives running side by side, still connected in public, but drifting apart in private. Some insiders say Nicole's warning wasn't an accusation, it was a plea. A real one. That she asked him to recalibrate, to be present, to fix what fame had worn thin. And when that didn't happen, she didn't blow things up, she let go. Not because she stopped loving him, but because she couldn't keep waiting for him to come home emotionally, not just physically. It's also worth remembering that both of them have always been serious about protecting their kids from chaos. That shared value might explain why the divorce was handled so cleanly. No screaming matches. No public blame. Just a quiet decision between two people who understood how expensive public drama can be. Despite all the rumors, neither of them has tried to drag the other. That silence, to some, feels like its own kind of love. There's another way to read this too, that Russell's alleged remarks weren't meant to expose secrets, but to humanize a story that had gone ice cold. Maybe he wasn't defending Nicole against Keith, but against public judgment. Because when a woman ends a marriage, people still demand a reason. Maybe Russell offered one that made her choice feel less ruthless, not betrayal, but heartbreak. And that changes everything. If you take scandal out of the picture, the timeline of their separation feels less like proof of guilt and more like proof of acceptance. Two adults reaching the same quiet realization: love, no matter how real, doesn't always fit the lives we grow into. Friends of the couple have said Nicole and Keith still respect each other. They co-parent. They talk. They move with a level of maturity most divorces never touch. No petty shots. No emotional meltdowns. No revenge. That's not how enemies move, that's how people act when they once loved deeply and now love differently. Still, even with all that calm, pain doesn't disappear. It just stays hidden. The kind of pain that doesn't trend because it's too relatable, missing someone who's still alive, still smiling, still in the same world, just no longer next to you. Some fans have noticed Keith's recent performances feel heavier, more reflective. His lyrics, his tone, his interviews, they all seem touched by quiet regret. Maybe not over one mistake, but over the slow drift that couldn't be stopped. The kind of regret that hits when you realize the hardest part isn't losing love, it's accepting that love alone can't fix everything. So while the world argues over whether Russell's words exposed betrayal or revealed truth, maybe both can exist. Maybe there was a warning. Maybe it was ignored. But maybe the reason behind it wasn't dark, maybe it was just human. A simple need to be seen, heard, and valued again. In the end, that might be the real tragedy, not scandal, but sadness. Not betrayal, but distance. Two people who spent nearly 20 years trying to hold on, only to learn that sometimes love loses rhythm before it loses feeling. And if Russell Crowe really stepped in to say anything at all, maybe it wasn't about blame or sides. Maybe it was just a reminder that even Hollywood's brightest stars can break quietly, not with rage, but with finality. The truth might never be one clean version. Maybe it's both, a warning ignored and a connection that faded. A marriage that ended not because of scandal, but because even the most beautiful songs eventually hit their last note. Public image and emotional fallout. When news of Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban's separation first dropped, people were stunned. For almost 20 years, they'd been the proof that fame and family could actually work. Their smiles felt comforting, like hope in a world full of short-lived love stories. So when that image cracked, it wasn't just about them. It was about what they symbolized. Fans flooded social media with heartbreak, disbelief, and theories. Some straight up refused to believe it. Others went full detective mode, replaying interviews, red carpet moments, and love songs, searching for signs they'd missed. Everyone wanted a reason. A villain. Something clean and simple. But all they got was silence. Nicole said nothing. Keith said nothing. And that silence became its own kind of chaos. At first, it worked in Keith's favor. His vulnerability, his emotional past, his public gratitude toward Nicole, it all painted him as the one left hurting. Meanwhile, Nicole's calm, composed demeanor made some people label her cold, mistaking grace for distance. But over time, that story flipped. Quietly. Slowly. Maybe because of the whispers tied to Russell Crowe's alleged insights. Suddenly, Nicole wasn't seen as distant, she was seen as strong. The woman who'd carried more than she ever said. The one who warned, forgave, and loved until she couldn't anymore. That shift didn't happen overnight. It came through empathy. Fans re-watched old footage and noticed things they'd missed before, the way Nicole's smile faded when Keith talked about touring, the sadness in her eyes at public events, the tiny moments that now felt loaded with meaning. And eventually, people started seeing it clearly, not heroes, not villains, just two good people caught in the wrong rhythm. And still, even when empathy finally evened things out, the emotional aftershock was massive. Hollywood runs on reinvention, yeah, but for Nicole and Keith, this wasn't some glossy rebrand, this was straight up rebuilding from the ground up. Both of them had to figure out who they were without the identity they'd shared for 19 long years. For Nicole, that meant locking in on her work, her kids, and protecting her inner calm. For Keith, it meant facing those empty, quiet spaces, the hush after the last chord drops, the kind of absence that not even a roaring crowd can drown out. People close to them say the aftermath wasn't fueled by rage, but by reflection. Nicole, known for being deeply thoughtful, reportedly leaned hard on her tight circle, including Russell Crowe, to sort through the emotional wreckage. Keith, meanwhile, dove headfirst into his craft. His next shows still had the flair, but there was something different this time. The showmanship stayed, but there was also softness, a low-key ache. It felt like the music itself had switched lanes, saying what words just couldn't. In public, they both moved with grace. No finger-pointing. No legal teams spilling tea. No so-called sources handing tabloids something ugly. That restraint became their silent redemption. It reminded everyone that dignity still matters in heartbreak, that endings don't have to be messy when both sides pick peace over performance. Still, for fans who'd followed them for nearly 2 decades, the loss hit hard. Social media lit up with nostalgia, throwback clips of Nicole introducing Keith at award shows, photos of them cracking up with their daughters, videos of them performing together, blending film and music into one shared universe. Those memories turned into pieces of a story that once inspired millions. And now, they carried the weight of finality. Russell Crowe's alleged role in reshaping the narrative only made the fascination deeper. His quiet support of Nicole, the timing, the credibility, all of it shifted him from background character to something like a narrator. He became the voice saying what neither Nicole nor Keith ever would. And by doing that, he gave the public space to grieve the ending without needing someone to blame. But even after the balance returned, the emotional fallout stuck around. For Keith, it bled into his professional life too. Every love song, every dedication, every old public declaration turned into a ghostly echo. His own words, "She saved me," suddenly cut deeper, carrying a painful kind of irony. Fans started hearing them as both gratitude and regret. For Nicole, the fallout was quieter, but heavier. She'd already lived through heartbreak in the public eye, from her early divorce to the non-stop scrutiny that followed her every move. This time, she stepped away from the noise altogether. Friends describe her as strong but worn down, more protective of her peace than ever. For her, the lesson wasn't about losing love, it was about boundaries. About realizing that sometimes strength means walking away before the world ever understands why. Eventually, the press did what it always does, moved on. New scandals took over. New love stories grabbed the spotlight. But for those who truly followed Nicole and Keith's journey, the story didn't disappear, it aged. It became a cautionary tale about how even the most beautiful relationships can crack under fame, distance, and time. In the end, what lingers isn't bitterness, but melancholy, the kind that comes from knowing something was real, even if it wasn't meant to last. Their legacy isn't chaos. It's endurance. It's the grace they showed while loving, and the grace they showed when letting go. And for Russell Crowe, who allegedly broke the silence, it's something different altogether. His choice to speak, even subtly, turned a flat tabloid headline into something human. It reminded everyone that behind every headline, there are hearts still healing. Maybe that's the quiet beauty of this ending, no villains, no victims, just people who loved as hard as they could, until they couldn't anymore. Because in Hollywood, fairy tales almost never survive. But if you really listen, this one didn't crash and burn, it closed with dignity. Conclusion: the unfinished story. At the end of the day, the story of Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban isn't about betrayal or losing, it's about evolution. Two people who once looked rock solid reached a place where love alone wasn't enough to hold everything together. The world wanted a bad guy, a scandal, one explosive moment to explain it all. But real life doesn't work like that. Behind the headlines and whispered rumors were years of effort, forgiveness, compromise, trying to make a fairy tale survive real life. And when it finally couldn't, they didn't tear each other apart. They just stopped pretending. That's not failure. That's realness. Russell Crowe's alleged revelation didn't expose anyone, it made them human. It reminded the public that even Hollywood's biggest stars deal with heartbreaks that are painfully ordinary once the cameras shut off. Maybe he didn't break some unspoken code, maybe he honored the truth, adding context to a story that had been judged way too harshly. For Nicole, the ending wasn't fueled by anger. It was about peace, choosing stillness after years of chaos. For Keith, it became about reflection, about understanding how fame can boost love just as easily as it can wear it down. The world saw a divorce. What it didn't see were two people choosing dignity over drama, silence over spectacle. In that quiet space, they protected something more valuable than image, their humanity. Maybe that's why this story still sticks. Because deep down, people see themselves in it, the effort to hold on, the bravery to let go, and the hope that love still matters even when it ends. So maybe the story isn't really over. Maybe it just changed shape, from a love song into a lesson. From a perfect couple into two imperfect people still worthy of grace. And maybe that's the truth Russell Crowe wanted out there all along, that even when love fades, respect doesn't have to. Because not every ending is tragic. Some are just the moment when two souls finally stop fighting gravity, and learn how to fall with grace. Subscribe for more true Hollywood stories that dig past the headlines, where the real drama isn't in scandal, but in the silence that comes after it. Important disclaimer. It's important to point out that, as of now, there are no verified, on-the-record statements from Russell Crowe confirming any direct comments about Nicole Kidman or Keith Urban's marriage. What's floating around online mostly comes from unverified YouTube discussions and entertainment rumor posts, not trusted outlets like People, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, or the BBC. So while online chatter has claimed Russell may have hinted at a warning or an affair, no credible publication has backed that up. In short, anything connected to Russell's alleged comments should be treated as speculation, not confirmed fact. Including this clarification keeps the story fair, respects everyone's privacy, and makes sure the content stays within YouTube's factual and policy-safe standards.